like my trajectory is it's a little unique. You know how when people say, or when people ask me every now and then, like, did you pick opera or did opera pick you? And now I feel like it picked me. Like it was meant to be. So I touched earlier about the fact that I'd never been exposed to opera until I saw the opera La Boheme. And it was a school production at UNLV. But again, I went to go support the upperclassmen who, actually, the tenor, Dominic Chenis, who's a great guy. He still is singing all over the world. He's currently singing Pinkerton. Not sure where. I think Boston lyric. Anyway, I digress. But he changed my life, whether he knows it or not. But I just remember I'd never had a live theater experience. And so when I went to this it's a small theater on UNLV campus called Judy Bailey Theater, and you go in there, and back then, I only say this because now everything is all digital programs, but before, you could have the printed program in your hand, and you could kind of like flip through, and you could hear the rustling of the paper and people trying to find their seats, and it was like watching little ants and like their ants pile trying to see what they're doing and finding their where they belong, and then they get settled in. And I saw the pit. In the pit there was the orchestra, and a lot of my friends, my classmates, were in the pit because it was the student orchestra playing, and they're tuning. And I just remember looking around going, okay, well, this is quite the spectacle, and I'm here. I'm committed. And then the music, it kind of took me, like, I was taken aback because I wasn't expecting that like wall of sound to come at me. And it was just, I remember just being, from start to finish, completely enveloped and very invested in the story that was unfolding in front of me. And then to boot, to I because I thought, this opera's in Italian, I won't understand what's happening. But then when I saw there was a board up on top for the super titles, I was like, oh, okay. So of course, you are invested from the beginning to end in knowing what each character is saying. And the music of the Puccini score is just, I just didn't know what to expect, and at the end, for those watching and who have never seen La Boheme, I'm going to spoiler alert, it's a tragedy. Mimi dies in the end. and but I didn't know that. I had not read the synopsis, and in Act 3, you start to see Mimi going, kind of coming and coughing, and she's the whole time she's dying of tuberculosis, and I, at the time, with my husband, I looked over at him, said, she's gonna be okay. The Act 4 comes along, and Musetta, she's like, I found Mimi, oh my gosh, and there's a beautiful sono andati, fingeva di dormire. It's just the music is so gorgeous, and again, it makes the audience kind of just hope the best for her, and I certainly did. It's like, she's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay. She's gonna pull through, and they're gonna have their happily ever after. In the end, you could see the soprano, kind of, her arm becomes limp to signify that she had passed peacefully in her sleep. And at the end, we all know, there's the very infamous lines where the tenor goes, Mimi, and the orchestra is with the swelling melodies, and the tenor again, Mimi, and just shakes her. And I am in tears, weeping, sobbing. I was just so, I was shocked. I looked over at my husband like, se murió Mimi, she died. And I walked out of there. I walked out of that theater, and I told my husband, I said, look, what my classmates did up on that stage, the way they made me feel, the way that they made this 3 hour long opera seem like it was just an hour long, just time went by so quickly, and just that's, that is what I want to do. And I often refer to that moment as like the same moments when I grew up working in the fields next to mom, she also made time go by faster by using music, by teaching me those songs that she grew up singing. And ever since that moment, the next day, I talked to my teacher, I talked to my counselor. Look, I want to be a double major. Like, what can I do? Tell me how to be a double major in music education and vocal performance. It took 3 times. I auditioned once, I auditioned again. I kept on getting denied by the voice faculty. And on the third time, it was definitely a third time is the charm. And I got accepted into the vocal performance program. And I was there, gung ho. But I tell my now, because I every now and then I do master classes or I teach, and I tell my students, like, you don't understand like the amount of practice and just dedication and focus that you need, even just for one measure of music, just to really iron out the edges and to really become hyper aware of you, your instrument, where it is that your potholes are vocally. Um, just you need to really be dedicated to that. And that's what I did. I practiced every day. I rehearsed with my pianist like twice a week, and then I had my voice lesson. I just really became, I fell in love with opera, with the art form, and I became fascinated with the physics and the science behind vocal technique and what it is, like the formants, and why does the high C sound louder at, than like an octave below. It's like that stuff all is all fascinating to me. And it wasn't until I was on my 5th year, doing my student teaching, and that was the only thing that I had left. And it was 5 weeks into student teaching, and I was not happy. I was not happy being a music teacher. And I called my mom. I called my mom. Now she owns a restaurant in Idaho. She actually feeds a lot of the farm workers that are out there working still. But we know, my siblings and I know not to call her during lunch rush because she will not answer the phone. She does not have time for you. She's the only cook in the kitchen, so she's, you can hear the pots and pans in the background. But I called her. I said, "Ma, would you still be proud of me if I graduated with my one degree instead of my double?" And I said, Cecilia. She's like a tough love type of person. She's like, "Como eres mensa? Like, you're such a dummy. Like, of course, we're gonna be proud of you. You're the first woman in the family to graduate from college. If this is something that you really feel passionate about, then do it. You have our support." But the thing that mom didn't understand, I don't think, was because she was the one always telling us, I mean, back in the fields, like, if you start something, you finish it, you see it through. And so when I got to that crossroad of not being happy with being a music teacher and not wanting to finish that degree, I felt for sure that I was gonna get some sort of like get some sort of a mom whipping via the phone from mom. And for me, that phone call is one that I won't forget because it's something she expressed, words that she had never said to me before. And just knowing that I had her support to pursue this career, because it's such an unknown thing to us, it meant a lot. And so I hung up the phone and immediately I emailed my teachers, my counselor, said, "Thank you for everything, for all of your dedication and teaching me and arming me with tools that I need to, to go out into the real world. But this is where, you know, Maestra Cecilia is, we will graduate with just my vocal performance. I will no longer pursue a music education degree." And like a month later, it was December of 2011 when I graduated, and I walked, and my mom and dad came, and they were, super proud. And by the very next month, January of 2012, I had my first professional contract to work at Opera San Jose and to sing all of the leading roles there, in their entire season. So it just, and just with my, here's, the underdog, a little girl from, that grew up hoeing beets in Idaho, and came into opera late, and I had this opportunity to go work at a professional opera company. And I'll tell you what, that was really my actual schooling, because I back then it was Irene Dallas who founded the company. It was, you either sink or swim. There were no coaches there at the time when I was there. There were no teachers. And my first season at Opera San Jose, I sang it all, guys. Started with Layla in Pearl Fishers. And then I did Rosalinda in Die Fledermaus. Then I did Leonora in Trovatore. And then I did Suor Angelica and Lauretta. And that was my first season.